Well, it's forecast to be going down to about -3 tonight, and I am camping in the tent without an inner tent, but it shouldn't be a problem. We're going to keep warm by cooking an Aloo Gobi potato and broccoli curry, aided by whiskey as well, of course. Using the little speedster meth stove this time, just to prove that you can cook proper food even with a simple alcohol stove. When it's cold like this, it's always a good idea just to heat up the meths in the bottle within your clothing for 10 or 15 minutes before you start cooking. It does make a big difference. So first things first, bit of oil. Once the oil is heated up, onion, ginger and garlic. You could always use powdered ginger, powdered garlic, but I must admit I prefer carrying just a bit of the real stuff. It does make a difference to the taste. Fry that off for about 5 minutes just to make sure that it's well cooked. You don't want a strong oniony taste. And just keep it moving. Okay, that's been going for a few minutes. Just going to chuck in a couple of dried chilies. Stir them around just a little bit. And the seasoning, cumin, coriander, turmeric, a little bit of garam masala. Fry that, certainly no more than a minute. You don't want it sticking to the pan. And at that point, it's time to add the potatoes, which I've prepared already. Cut them into small amounts, in with the water, just covering the potatoes. And we shall now just pour the whole lot in. Mix it through. And we shall add a stock cube, vegetarian stock cube, while we're bringing it to the boil. And finally, the other thing we're going to add in is a tomato that I chopped up while I was frying the onions. These little up-and-L knives are fantastic, very cheap, extremely sharp, but they are lethal. You've got to watch them because it's very easy to cut yourself. And then it's just a question of bringing that to the boil. So once we've stirred it in, put the lid on and just leave it to get on with the jobs. You can probably hear, or maybe even see, that that is now simmering nicely. So before we go any further, we need to get the rice on. So the first thing we're going to do is take the curry off, put it in the pot cosy. I shall weigh it down with my reading glasses for the time being. Portion of rice. Top it up with water to 1 or 2 fingers width above the level of the rice. Get it on the flame. stir it in, and then it's just a question of bringing it excuse me, bringing it to the simmer, and then swapping it with the pot cosy, and we'll carry on with the curry. The rice didn't take long. I've swapped it over, so the rice is now in the pot cosy, and by the time we finish the curry, that rice will also be ready. The curry was bubbling away almost as soon as I put it back on the flame, which just goes to prove how efficient these pot cosies are, even though you can see that I'm camped in the snow. We're going to continue simmering this potato and onion, tomato and water curry mix for 10 minutes. I took the opportunity of blowing the flame out, refilling the meth stove, and then that should get us to the end of the meal now. We're about 10 minutes on, bubbling away nicely, and it's time to chuck in the technically should be cauliflower, but we're going to use broccoli. A, because it's what I happen to have lying around, but more importantly, B, it cooks a little bit quicker than cauliflower. Cut it quite small, and then it'll cook quicker. Stir that in, and we're going to give that another between 5 and 10 minutes, and then the meal will be done. I'm just going to put a little bit more water in with that as well. Tastes good. So in about 10 minutes, that's our curry done. We're pretty much done. You can hear the curry's bubbling away nicely. Rice is perfect. So it's just a question. I happen to have some fresh coriander, which is always nice to chuck in. It's hardly essential, but it does make a difference. And that's us done. So I suppose really this meal was all about logistics, cooking a meal with a number of different ingredients requiring different times, plus a mug full of rice, all over the one simple alcohol stove. Yeah, it's good. So it doesn't have to be difficult. And just to illustrate how much fuel we used, I started off with the bottle at about here, and you can see it's now here. So even a half decent meal doesn't actually need to be that fuel intensive.